With me to talk about how the tyres function around the Grand Prix weekend is Dominic Harlow, the Spyker Chief Test and Race Engineer. Dominic, you've got a lot of value in your hand there. Just explain to us the new rules for this season that have imposed a different kind of tactic on teams and how the tyres actually work during the race.
Well, this year, as opposed to the previous seasons, we've got just a single tyre supplier supplying the tyres for all 22 cars. It's Bridgestone this year, and they've been our tyre partner for a number of years now, which leading into this season was a positive for us, certainly. And yeah, this season they bring just 2 compounds to each race on the dry tyres and 2 options of wet tyres. We have to then use both of those tyres in the race, and we're free to pick which of the 2 that we can qualify on.
So just to clarify, one of those 2 tyres, one is a harder compound, one is a softer compound. You have to use them both, but you get to choose when to use them.
That's pretty much it, yes. That's a big part of our race weekend, obviously, from the tactical side, understanding the tyres, how the 2 of them work and which is going to give us the biggest advantage to use when.
And also the different cars, depending on which team you're running in, though the tyres are the same, the cars don't use them in the same way. Tyres can deteriorate or last longer depending on the setup and the chassis of the different cars.
That's true. The drivers as well obviously can influence very much what goes on with their tyres, and it's something of a grey area, if you like. Just getting the absolute best out of the tyres, finding what works best for your car on that weekend, and even day to day during the weekend the circuits evolve. What might be a very green circuit at the start of the weekend gets rubber laid down on the surface, becomes more sympathetic to the tyres, and maybe you end up using a soft tyre when at first you thought you'd had to use the hard one. So it's quite a challenge for the engineers, and it's something we spend a lot of time on, going through the data and really understanding what's going on with the tyres.
Would you say that this season, because of the rule changes, because the tyres that you use, there is less choice in the matter, then it's more demanding for the engineers to get the best performance out of the car across the whole race?
It's a different challenge from what we've had in the past. Whereas before we had perhaps more of a choice, and you could, if you like, hit a sort of smaller sweet spot with the tyres. This year it's a sort of a bigger challenge. We've got a more simple choice, but it's just as important for us to get it right.
Now, one set will cost £5,000. How many sets do you take with you across a race weekend?
Across a race weekend, the rules dictate a certain number of sets that we're allowed to use. Basically 10 sets of dry tyres and 7 sets of wet tyres per car per weekend.
I'm just doing the maths there. So we nearly got 100 grams worth of rubber in the trucks. There's a lot of dough, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, it's
which reflects the importance of these things for the whole operation.
It's exactly. It's a huge part of the sort of Formula One circus, if you like, is the tyre supply. They'll take any number of trucks to every race. They're flying tyres or shipping tyres around the world to all these events, and it's a huge operation. You've got to hand it to them. They do an incredible job of supporting the teams.
Can you just explain to us the temperature range, because these things work? It's all about grip in Formula One. The only thing that really matters is getting good grip so the car gets optimum speed on the racetrack. Now, the thing that determines grip levels is temperatures and pressures. So if it's too cold, there's no grip, and if it's too hot, they lose grip. Can you just explain the kind of the range and the importance of balancing that through the race weekend?
Well, the tyres have what we call a working range, which, as you say, is the optimum window for when the grip is the best for them. With the dry and wet tyres, we preheat them so that when the driver takes to the track from the pits, he's already in the working range of the rubber and he has a safe level of grip.
And this is done with the tyre
blankets.
Yeah, the blankets.
Which every team every team uses. The working range of the dry tyres, fairly similar. Just to put numbers to it, it's something between 70 and 90 degrees C on the surface tread of the tyre. The wet tyre operates obviously in slightly lower temperature windows because of the cooling effect of the water on the track.
So what are we going to expect at Silverstone in terms of temperatures?
Well, just yesterday we were testing there. Actually, at the test we had 22 degrees ambient. The track was at 30. There's some clouds, some sun. So if it's a bright sunny day, obviously the ambient's going to go up. The track might reach 40 degrees.
Well, we'd settle for those temperatures, I think.
Yeah, for a weekend.
On a wet day.
For sure.
At Silverstone.
Could be either way.
Thanks very much for that, Tom.
Okay, thanks.
With me is Mark Gray, the chief mechanic on Christian Alber's car, also the man responsible for getting that front right tyre off both cars during the pit stops. Mark's going to talk us through what happens when he picks the gun up. Mark, over to you.
Hi, so this is the gun. On the back we have a reverse and forward, so on and off for the nut.
You might want to explain that it's not light, Mark.
It's not light,
You need to be a strong boy to get hold of that.
and the kick on it as well is quite fierce.
It could fling you around the garage.
It does. You have the wheel nut there. The wheel nut locks into the socket, so I can wind the nut off of the hub here. The nut stays in the socket, hopefully, and then when I go back on, I change the direction of the nut. It winds itself back on like that, and then I pull the safety clip here that stops the nut from coming back off.
How long have you got to execute that manoeuvre?
It's nice to do it in about 3 seconds.
3 seconds?
Yeah.
5 seconds is the sack.
5 seconds is not good.
It's not good. You're in trouble.